We were just talking about the 1998 Martinsville race. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember it pretty well.
1998 is when you are still carrying the scars from the burns from your victory.
The interview post-race, whenever they had you laid out in the pit.
I do remember it. I just remember that, I was beyond being hot. I was pretty much halfway passed out, but I do remember the interview, and that was my biggest thing was to get to, once that race was over, I was trying, and that's where I parked. I pulled up to the infield hospital, which was basically, extra large outhouse with a medical sign on the front of it. But I made it that far, and I said, well, if I get there, then, at least they take care of me. But I had bigger things to try to take care of, and that was try to win that race. Bill put such a good car under us that day. I mean, it's very, I can probably count on one hand, or not even one hand, like 2 or 3 fingers when I've had a car that would run that good at Martinsville.
Mm-hmm. Did somebody tell you during the race that you were going to, the next day would be much better with your check in one hand and being at the lake or something, but you were like, well, I'm going to be at the hospital probably.
Well, that was the biggest thing, just finish the race and worry about what happens later. And I think we had, Hutch Strickland was standing by in the pits,
mm-hmm.
and I just remember having such a great car that day that, I didn't want to give it up if I didn't have to. And I still had a little bit of fight left in me, but I didn't have enough to talk on the radio and drive the car too. I remember that.
Yeah.
It was, you just do what you had to do. But, back then, that was, we didn't have all the fancy stuff to keep you cool and stuff. We had a fancy system, but it never worked from day one on, when the first race crank the motors up, the cool suit thing wasn't working. So, nowadays it's, you got real AC and everything. I think it's a lot cooler now, I understand. But back then, it wasn't unusual to have to pull you out of a car at the end of the race. And the way I looked at it, if they didn't pull you out, then you didn't drive hard enough,
There you go.
Gosh, yes. Such an epic time right there,
Yeah.
Did that wreck that you got into where they had to tape your eyes open, did that help make you even tougher?
Well, I don't know if tougher or stupid was the right word to use for that. But at the time it was just the right thing to do. I guess I grew up in that generation. There was a lot of tough guys out there.
Mm-hmm.
You had, most of those guys were hard workers. Like you take Cale Yarborough and people like that. They worked on a farm. They were real men.
Mm-hmm.
They wrestled those things all day long, no power steering, and
mm-hmm.
and heck, I couldn't, if I could be half as tough as those guys, I'd have been okay. But you did what you had to do. Everybody, if you didn't tough out situations on a hot day, then you might find another occupation, because that was more of a norm than it was than the exception. I was just watching Bill a while ago when he was talking about him and Ted had a little altercation. Ted Musgrave.
Remember, it was getting dark, and Ted was following you, and he spun you out. And I had told
I do remember it well, because I remember I got called over to the NASCAR trailer to discuss what my crew chief had just done. And Mike Kelton, I think, said, well, we're going to have to find Bill and find the team, or find Bill mainly, which means we would have paid it. But when he said it's going to cost you, I'm sure we're going to come up with a number. And finally, I think he called you over to the trailer,
mm-hmm.
and I think he told you the fine was like $300 or something like that.
Wow!
And you weren't comfortable with that, and you came back and I said, "Yeah, man, you just be quiet from here on out. $300, we're done. I'll give him the cash right now."
Yeah. Well, Jack he kept coming to the pit, said, we're going to spin you out. And I said, well, we get spun out, I'm going to hit somebody. He did what he said he was going to do. So I did what I said I was going to do.
Yeah, that was actually, that whole thing, it really, I guess it could have been a lot nastier, but, the bottom line is, back then, I wouldn't think too many people. I'm looking at your arms on this TV screen. I didn't know your arms looked like you blew them up with air or something. I didn't know you still had those big arms. But there's not too many people that want to question you in the garage area.
No, I had a reputation for sure.
That's all these high rips, right?
Yeah.
Sets of 25 and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Look at Harry Gant. He was a roofer.
Yeah.
A roofer. Yeah. And drove, yeah. You just think about that, carrying stacks of shingles on your shoulder up a ladder and then stand there in 100-degree with that black asphalt shingling shining up on you.
Yeah.
He was used to that.
And I understand he's retired now, and he's still, if you go see him, half the time he's up on the roof or he's out there on the farm still working that hard. But, you shake hands with those guys, Cale or any of those guys, Harry especially. I mean, their hands are calloused. I mean, they have, they had to be careful not to squeeze your hand too hard. That's how strong they were, kind of like shaking hands with Bill Engel. You just don't, don't let him get that grip on your hand because you'll be dead. Dale Emmon was, I think he could even hold his own with Dale Emmon when they shook hands. Dale,
no problem.
Famous for that,
Dale would come up and grab you by the arm, and it was like, man, where'd you get all that strength in that hand, that wrist, Hey, Ricky, how many years did you go win and race every year?
16 years in a row, and when we went out and we had started our own team, and I know Bill Engel there probably had a lot of pressure on him to try to keep that streak alive, and everybody was saying, that streak could come to an end. Now y'all have got your own team, and you got to start from scratch. It'll be years before you ever win again. And darn it, we didn't. I mean, Bill put some really good race cars under us, and team came together, and we ran well. We kept that streak alive. I remember winning that race at New Hampshire in '94, and I think we had to pass Earnhardt on the outside to do it.
Yep.
And of course, Bill was good on the radio about keeping me pumped up on the steering wheel pretty good late in the race, and kind of talked me through it. And I mean, we had a great car late in the race, and we're able to get on the outside and get some grip out there. When a lot of guys were slipping and sliding, we could get some grip, and went on, and we won that race, and that kept that streak going. And if there's ever a time that you would think that would have come to an end, that would have been a year that it should have come to an end. Most people, their teams, just changing teams from one driver going to another team, they don't usually, you can sometimes you can skip 2 or 3 years before you get into a winning routine, but we were lucky we never missed a beat with the team we had that Bill put together.
I was going to ask,
yeah,
getting back to the taping the eye thing, if they had to tape your eye open, were you able to blink? Like, did you have to go the whole race with your eyes glued open? That would be tough.
No, I don't think come think, I don't remember, but I think what it was is that my eyes were just closed with they were just swelled up. So I think I could probably still blink, but all that fluid in your, eye sockets and stuff was basically, I think the eyelid would still work, but all that other loose skin and stuff was, it was like a cheap facelift, I guess, with duct tape.
I'm just sitting here imagining your eyeballs stuck open.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I could have handled that.
No.
I came across that picture somewhere, and I sent it to you, and you said, yeah, I remember that, and I remember the pain that come with it.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I still got ribs that hurt from that one.
Oh, man, I can imagine. So, well, you did good. You did great, and we appreciate you and all the years that you put in. And
great race car driver, too, Ricky.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Bill. And I'm going to back out and let y'all have the conversation with Bill. It's Bill's time here on the line. I just want to check in with him and give him a hard time. And
David,
miss the old crew. We had some really good guys from that team and I run by and I run into them every now and then, and all of them, that I run into, they went on to go to, other teams after we shut down, and they all keep talking when I run into them. Say, man, we never worked so hard, but we never had so much fun when we had that team put together. And Bill Engel was a major part of that, putting that thing together, assembling a lot of those people.
Handshakes down here, an heroic effort by your crew and your driver. How did he do that?
Well, it's more of a heroic deal for Ricky. The car was good all day. He got burned up in that car. Got a new helmet they tried today, and I'm sure we'll go take a look at that. Nothing really worked for him. We had to keep cooling him down all day long. And it just, he done a heck of a job. What can I say? He wanted it. And that's what I like. I like working with hungry people. When you're hungry, you work harder.
Go to victory lane.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ricky.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks so much.
I'm going to let you guys go, and good talking to you, Bill. And
Yeah, have a good one.
Radio.
Yeah.
Y'all take care.
Thank you, Ricky. You too, bud. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Pulling him out of the car after the Martinsville race, of course, and then they laid him down in pit road. But he lost that like at lap 100 or so, where he went the whole 400 more laps of heat and just pure exhaustion.
And then we tried to cool him down with a garden hose, and the garden hose had been laying there on the pavement with the sun shining on it. So it's 150 degree water in the hose, and they shot that down his back.
oh my word. That's terrible.
There's a video of him talking about that too.
Yeah.
And then y'all were getting where you get makeup cases from the ladies.
Yeah, and put ice in them, and so you could just drop them down in his uniform on pit stops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when that ice melts, it ends up boiling when it turns to water.
That's what happened. Had aluminum seats back then. But I'm pretty sure we had some holes drilled in the bottom of those seats. So when he perspired, it would get out from under, but there probably wasn't enough holes for what he was going through that day.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah.
That's crazy though. Yep. Tough guy.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. Legendary.